Hey folks, Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and my good friend Jordan, the silent PH in the middle, linked me to this article, and I thought it was too interesting and thought-provoking to not make a video on. And even though I'm in the middle of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything coverage, I think this warrants its own video. So let's take a look. So this is on icv2.com, and the article is called Rolling for Initiative, a case for the possible sale of Wizards of the Coast being on the horizon. And it actually kind of makes a lot of sense. I could be wrong, but let's take a look, right? So Rolling for Initiative is a weekly column by Scott Thorne, PhD, owner of Castle Perilous Games and Books in Carbondale, Illinois, and instructor in marketing at Southeast Missouri State University. He explores the recent moves by Hasbro may indicate that they may be shopping Wizards of the Coast in the near future. And it says, see last week's article, this was about the lawsuit, the several lawsuits, right? We had the Dragonlance lawsuit, then we had the Gale Force 9 lawsuit as well. I didn't cover that, but it seems like that's pretty well known by now. There's a contract dispute similar to what the Dragonlance folks were dealing with, but with Gale Force 9 dealing with foreign production of books, because Gale Force 9 was going to be the one to localize the D&D books in the future. Anyway, Hasbro might clean up the loose ends to set figure for selling off Wizards of the Coast. Consider the following points. Hasbro never wanted to deal with D&D or Magic. They've been focused on their very lucrative brands, like My Little Pony, Star Wars, Transformers. Makes sense, right? WotC started off as a third-party creator, launched Magic the Gathering in the 90s, bought the assets of TSR in 97, and got the license to do the Pokemon trading card game in 1998, releasing the first packs in January of 1999. So Hasbro saw that Pokemon, super hot, obviously, it's one of the most, blown up global brands and most recognizable global brands out there. But WotC's license for Nintendo ended in 2003, and then Nintendo, as we all know, took trading card game production fully in-house and basically developed the Pokemon Company to handle trading card game sales, leaving Hasbro with just D&D and Magic. I have a couple points we'll make, but let's keep going, right? So it says, granted, Hasbro has done exceedingly well with the two brands, but the company has had not much success developing either a second TCG or RPG brand. That also, the fact that this is like the 6th year running where the profits for Dungeons & Dragons have been in the double digits, I feel like that's sort of maybe that's not important, but let's keep reading, right? So Hasbro knows board games. That's no secret there, right? If you remember earlier this year, Hasbro opted to remove Wizards of the Coast board game lines from Wizards of the Coast's parent to the parent company, right? That's the change to Avalon Hill moving to Hasbro as opposed from being like Wizards related. So, and it says, however, if Hasbro plans to sell the company, keeping the part of it that Hasbro understands and successfully sold for decades makes sense. Just look at the crowdfunding campaign for HeroQuest. Cleaning up the company. This is kind of what we were talking about, right? If Hasbro is wanting to shop around with Wizards of the Coast and sell them somewhere, they may be looking to close out outstanding contracts. And it might be, again, the Weiss-Hickman Dragonlance contract and the Gale Force 9 issue. Let's clean up all of our loose ends, so if we go to sell Wizards of the Coast, it is a clean sell, right? If word arrives of Hasbro/Wizards of the Coast breaking its contract with WizKids for D&D line of miniatures and WizKids filing a retaliatory lawsuit, the idea that Hasbro plans to put the division up for sale becomes a lot more plausible, right? That's sort of the third, or one of the other major brands of Dungeons & Dragons is WizKids. So if WizKids and D&D get into a scrap or discrepancy in some way, I don't see that happening, but I could be wrong. I didn't think Gale Force 9 is doing a lot of good work for them, but here we are. So that may lead to that split. And it says, who would buy? This is the part that always put me off about a sale of Wizards of the Coast by Hasbro. Who would buy them? I can think of other companies that would like to buy Wizards of the Coast: Paizo, Goodman Games, Trollord Games, Cobalt Press. But none, at least that I know of, have the cash flow available to fund such a purchase. I agree with that, right? Paizo sort of was Wizards of the Coast, then split off, but I don't think that any one of those game companies has enough capital to buy Wizards of the Coast from Hasbro. Also, Goodman Games, Trollord Games, Paizo, Cobalt Press, they are RPG companies. They don't really deal with Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a card game, and that's not something that those other groups are typically knowledgeable in. Doesn't mean they can't make it work and heavily levy the assets from Wizards of the Coast and the Magic team, but it says, Publishing RPGs is not a path to riches. However, the successful sale of Asmodee in, I think it's Asmodee, I don't know, in 2018 to a private equity firm indicates that there's interest in investing in the game industry for companies outside. A similar private equity group or company might see significant value in acquiring both the top RPG and top TCG brands in one fell swoop. So, interesting concept, right? For sure. That could explain a lot of the weird stuff we've seen. The whole path of Wizards or seemingly of Hasbro or Wizards to say, like, hey, let's cut all the contracts. Let's tie up all of our loose ends. Let's sub out or pull out board game publishing because we know that because we're a toy company. But every one of the sales meetings we've seen is like Dungeons and Dragons is doing better than ever. Dungeons and Dragons is doing great. Let's keep it going. I don't know. So it's a business, right? We're going to look at it like a business. Is the fact that you can pull in double-digit profits every year for 6 years or however many years it's been that they've had these double-digit profits? I know it was last year for sure. And then obviously with 2020 and COVID and all this other stuff, having a good thing that people can do to connect, even if it's remotely, works well, and that's Dungeons and Dragons, right? So I don't know, is that worth doing? But you also have to look at it as how much upkeep and how much money are we spending on this company, benefits, vacation, retirement packages, and so on, versus how much we're making. Sounds like the profit's still there, so I don't think that's a problem, but maybe it's just a headache. Maybe they see some of the issues that Wizards of the Coast has been getting into, possibly with social media and Twitter and all this kind of stuff. Maybe they say, well, that's not something we want to worry about for our brand, so we're going to cut it and leave it. I don't know. It seems like a dumb move. It seems like it makes its own money. And again, I don't really know who would buy Wizards of the Coast, who has that kind of capital, unless we get some sort of weird gaming triumvirate where all those companies we talked about, Paizo, Cobalt Press, Good Games, they all come together and become one giant gaming conglomerate and all work together and then buy them. And it's one large gaming company, which I don't see happening. I don't know. Could Wizards of the Coast make an effort to break out from Hasbro? Maybe this is the other side of it, right? Maybe they're not trying to be sold. Maybe Wizards of the Coast is trying to break away from Hasbro and become a wholly owned company in and of themselves. That could be a possibility, right? Break away from the big corporate sponsor in Hasbro and become Wizards of the Coast, LLC, 100% owned by ourselves. We are our own now standing operating company. They'd have to be buying themselves out of that contract. I don't know if they have that kind of capital to do that either. But that would be, I think, I don't know, but I think that might be what's best if there's a sale in the future, which I don't know if there is, and I don't really think there is, but we'll keep an eye out to see if there's a Wizards D&D breakup in the future here. But I think that might be the best thing for the industry. While it would be great to see someone like Paizo or Cobalt Press go out of the way and buy Wizards of the Coast, because I could only imagine what could happen with that sort of powerhouse moves, but I don't see that happening. But I think it might be good if Wizards of the Coast was possibly able to break out and become their own entity, where they're not beholden to the corporate rules of Hasbro. They just run Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, and now it's fully theirs. That also might facilitate like a 6th edition version of the game or something like that. It's a big major change in everything. Now we can do what we really wanted to do in the first place. Even though I don't know how much, I don't know how much autonomy Wizards of the Coast had to do whatever they wanted under Hasbro's roof. If Wizards of the Coast was pretty much given carte blanche, do whatever you want, just make us money, and Hasbro says if we're fine with the checks coming in, then I don't really see much changing other than the recent sort of shifts and changes we've seen in what's been going on with Dungeons and Dragons. But if Hasbro really was hard on the development of it and saying, no, you need to change this, you need to make it look like this, you need to do that, and then Wizards of the Coast is able to break free, then they can kind of do their own thing and make the D&D they wanted. But my interpretation of it is they've always been able to do that. So this is sort of, I don't know, it would just be different. Who signs their checks would be, would come from Wizards of the Coast, not Hasbro. That also may lead to some downsizing on the Wizards of the Coast side because they don't have Hasbro money anymore. They're self-sustaining. They're a self-owned business. Granted, they have clout and they can do things with that, but who knows? That might change things up for all of us in the YouTube space It might make them crack down on who's allowed to do what and what kind of content we're able to make, or it might also open them up to wanting to embrace the community more, being a solo-owned company as opposed to not having to worry about that kind of stuff because we've got corporate, Hasbro money. I don't know. It was just a thought-provoking article. Thank you again to Jordan for linking me this article. It was just released today, a couple hours ago. The 29th, and I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting. I thought it was worth making a video on just to get your opinion on it. It was also a nice little break from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time.